Greetings, weary traveler. Come, warm yourself by the fire, and let us regale you with mighty tales, tales of adventure, tales of heroism, and of course, tales of Tamriel. I am your host, LotusOfDoom, here with friend of the show and returning guest, Loctavian. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Hello. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have you back. I really enjoyed when you and Pylon were here last time to kind of really get into all of the details. We had that very lengthy discussion on all things MMO. So this time we don't need to have any deep out of ESO discussions, but you haven't been on since the big reveal, what we're looking forward to coming up and all of that. So, I'm glad that you get to join us for this. It's not like a crazy packed news week, but we did get some stuff kind of showing us what we're in for the first quarter. And I'm kind of curious on your opinion with that and all that good stuff, plus what we've been doing in game and everything like that. So, no, it's a pleasure to have you back. Honestly, I was telling you before the show, several people had actually specifically commented that they were very pleased to be introduced to you, actually, after the last time you were here. So hopefully, this can be equal exposure as well to anybody who might not have met Loctavian. As a matter of fact, why don't you give a quick synopsis, just give people a quick shout out as to who you are and how you relate to the community.
Yeah, so I'm a ESO Stream Team Twitch partnered streamer, and so there's streamers out there, and they are the top tier, and they're the best in the world at trials, and they're the best in the world at PvP, and they're the best in the world at arenas.
There it is.
At housing. And they are the best at everything. And I am not that. I am aggressively casual in my approach to streaming. We just do whatever. And I feel like that's my niche, is being able to just experience the game 70% at everything, not 100% at any one thing. And to quote Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I've decided to just get real weird with it often.
When I first met you outside just our dialogue, just like through Twitter and stuff like that, but the first time I got to see your stream, I still stand by the fact that the Dagoth wave dance was like pretty much what sold me immediately. I was like, well, this is the weirdest shit ever, and I love all of what's happening right now. So
shout out to Young Scrolls for the greatest song ever.
Yep.
And allowing me to use it for the greatest dance ever.
What do you call it? So jumping into things, not really any behind the scenes. Hoping we were trying to finagle something to get Ark involved this week, and you actually kind of joined on kind of like a not last minute, but not the most organized thing that I had this time, because my week has not been organized whatsoever, which made kind of getting the show off the ground this week a little more complicated and a little less organized than I try to be. As we had last week, we had the blizzard in Bastion, and this week we had not exactly a blizzard, but if you've ever gone to a machine and gotten crushed ice for a drink, we had a crushed ice storm, I guess would be the best way to explain it, because when I took my dog out and she came back in, she kind of looked like a snow cone. Because it was literally just like raining and sleeting at the same time, and it was just sticking to everything, just snapping trees and everything. So our week has been chiseling out the entire environment, which has really kind of had me distracted throughout the week. Most unpleasant, but that's at least behind us for now, and now it's just 2 degrees outside, which is a real not selling point. However, since the last show, we had another, again, thank you as always for the iTunes and Spotify reviews. I was told that Tom from Lorecast was mentioning that it seems like that might be part of the new algorithm for Spotify or whatever. That's fine. None of that's important. But I just like to say thank you for those of you who take any time to leave us a review. It's very thoughtful that you would take the time to do that for us. And in the case that you don't just leave a review, but you actually leave some words, we have one from Not Kevin's Cousin this week, a 5-star review that I can confirm this is a podcast. Oh, that this podcast is real and uses real words out of real people's mouths, which is exactly what we hope to achieve during this show. So the fact that that's coming across, really glad to hear. So...
Yeah, that was really well articulated. Definitely not something that would come from a cousin of a Kevin. So I think we'll live up to their name.
So yeah, that's as always greatly appreciated. Again, even you just leaving reviews is very helpful, apparently, to the algorithms. But yeah, if you want to leave words, it's always appreciated as well. As for any other behind the scenes stuff, I kind of wanted to shout this out, and we've got a few episodes before this is going to happen. So, I want to just kind of prep this up, give people time to hear it, possibly give anything. But as we are currently in episode 296, which is absolutely mind-boggling how long this show has existed, long before myself as a host or even Ark as a host. And basically around the beginning of the game's lifespan, so we almost share a birthday with Elder Scrolls Online itself. We're closing in on episode 300, which is a pretty massive milestone in terms of podcasting. And we have... I hate teasing, but there's no way to kind of do this without having some teaser. We do probably, unless things go sideways or anything like that, it does seem like we're going to have a rather large announcement that we can do. And it's a good thing. So it's not like, aha, we reached episode 300, peace out, and we just like sail off into the sunset. Not that type of announcement, like a good announcement. So hopefully that will come to fruition and we can give you more details to unveil on episode 300. But, I can't go too much into it. So I apologize for the tease. That annoys me when other things do that. But I just kind of give you a peek behind the curtain. However, one thing that I wanted to specifically throw out there to the community, because for the longest time, I was a listener of Tales, and I was given an opportunity to guest on the show, and several years later, I'm now like the lead host on the show, which is not really something I ever expected or planned on when this all started, when I was a listener. However, I think that shows that what Agello started way back when he kicked off Tales of Tamriel originally, he made something that ended up becoming more than just his show that he started, and it's something that I've always thought is really awesome, because he was always kind of like the community focus, which I thought was great, because community focused stuff is like a big thing with us, and honestly Elder Scrolls in general, puppy cam, all around. And the thing is, this show is more of a staple to listeners than it is to any one of us on the show, and I kind of like it that way. This is not my show now. This is not anybody's show specifically. This is just a show that's in the community and part of the series, and I've just kind of liked that a lot, and being on both sides of it, from listener to on the show itself, I wanted to kind of just reach out to all of you. Many of you send really nice things to the show, which is great. It's just super I don't know. It's humbling to know how many of you listen to this show for various reasons, to help you get through stuff, as a distraction, as white noise, like all of that's very, very cool. And with episode 300 on the horizon, if there's anything over these past 300 episodes that sticks out to you from any of the cast members, because it's transitioned so much over the years with so many different hosts, we're just kind of looking as reminiscing, as I will be doing, I know Ark will be doing, Feel free to send us any of your favorite moments, whether it was us screwing up because we always joke about being a dumpster fire, whether it was, points in the game and had nothing to do with us. It was just like, oh, this happened, this expansion, this happened. Anything you would like to contribute that relates to the game or us, or you found us because of this in game, or whatever, you bump into us and I was in PvP and you raffle stomped the shit out of me at a keep, and it was like, oh, I recognize that guy, he's the guy who does the podcast, and we just trucked him. Like, whatever the case, I'm going to start collecting some of those just to kind of help for a reminiscing thing, because essentially episode 300 is going to be like an anniversary thing, because most shows don't get quite that far. And barring anything bad happening, I will be here for episode 300. And, I have some moments long before me and also since I've been here that I've just really enjoyed. So if any of you have anything you would like to contribute, feel free to send it to Twitter or to me, or put it in the Discord, whatever you would like to do. If you have audio ability and want to send in a voice something or other, feel free. Whatever you would like to do. If there's anything around the show that you remember, that you appreciate, whatever, just kind of looking to reminisce or remember any of the stuff that has happened over the years. It's just something we're I don't know. I kind of want to do something with that as a looking back over the show's history, both including myself and long before myself. Also to the live chat, hello everybody who's new. So I was going to say welcome. But yeah, so that's just kind of that. Plenty of weeks out, so don't rush or anything. Give you time to think about it and all that good stuff. And we could compile some. Hopefully, I keep it somewhat reasonable. But yeah, so that's really the only behind the scenes stuff. We'll obviously have more as we get closer. That's enough about the show stuff. As for game news, we got patch notes, or natchpotes, as everybody likes to say it, where we're getting more hybridization. PTS has started and all that. Have you delved into that very much, Loctavian? Have you looked into any of the stuff? Any of the stuff on the horizon you're looking forward to, et cetera, since the reveal?
So, big update 33, obviously, like you said, on the way. A lot of great things in that. I do just want to talk about the reveal a bit. So I saw some pushback, some animosity from the community when they announced the card game, but I actually have to say that to me is huge, because an MMO's lifespan and extended lifespan is really based on what's called lateral systems, meaning if you just keep adding in-game content for the top percentage, you don't flesh out the world and add more lateral things for people to do, the game eventually just kind of slowly has attrition. And I think starting with Antiquities, moving into Companions, and now with the card games, there's been a huge focus, not on new combative systems, not on new end-game stuff, but on lateral systems that makes the game have more layers. Like, Antiquities is an amazing thing. The card game can be a really amazing thing. So that's the thing that actually has me the most hype, is the new card game. It's not going to carry the expansion, but it is another lateral system. And I think when you look at a game that's about to come out like Lost Ark, that's been around since 2018 in Korea, the reason that game is so well received and so anticipated here is because they've had a big focus on lateral systems. So that's my biggest thing, is I really appreciate the focus on lateral systems, because that's what's going to keep the casual players. That's what's going to keep the hardcore players when they're looking for other stuff to do in the game, I feel.
Yeah, and I've been very curious on how Tales of Triumph is going to play out once we get a hold of it. Also, the acronym or the abbreviation is not lost on me, that it's also TOT, which is Tales of Tamriel as well, which is funny because there's also an official Tales of Tamriel book. The name really has some interesting branding with the actual series, which is funny. So SEO is going to be even more of a nightmare, I assume. But yeah, I had mentioned last time that I basically learned Magic to play Legends, and now I'm getting ready to learn people have mentioned Ascension and Dominion and all these things as deck build. So I'll be attempting to learn something new for this. And I'm curious how much I'll get into it, but at the same time, from your perspective, it's reaching to a different group of people again, which I think helps.
Yeah, and that's what I like the most about a lateral system. If you hate antiquities, and I see it in the chat, crying makes my soul bleed. But the thing is you don't have to do antiquities, or maybe you have to do it a little bit if you want a mythic, but you don't have to like really dive into it like some people do. And if you don't like companions, you don't really have to have a companion. And the same thing's going to go for the card game. And we'll have to see how it executes, how the playing against other players works, how the scoring and scoreboards work and all that. But even if it doesn't appeal to you, I think it should appeal to anybody who even isn't interested in the card game from a perspective of anything that keeps more players in the game more engaged with the game is going to lead to them. Very few people do one thing. So if a card game and antiquities keeps more people around, eventually they're maybe going to glide into PvP or into trials or into things like that. Right. I think that's why lateral systems are important, is not because they're necessarily going to appeal to 100%, but because they engage with another section or another potential like group of people in the community to keep more people in the world, to keep the world alive and breathing.
Yes, I agree with that. And it's just like with everything else in the game, I'll give it a try and see if I like it. And I'll probably farm it for whatever achievements I can get out of it, regardless of how much I like it or don't. But the big thing is, it's like, I'm willing to give it a try. And if it turns out it's not super my thing, then it's like, okay, well, I already have plenty that I do in game. If it's a system for 30% of the population, then I don't have to be that 30%. Maybe I might end up liking it. Who the hell knows? Like I haven't tried it yet. So
I believe I've heard a couple people such as like Zynode and Nephis and top end players kind of reference like vet trifecta hard mode trials as something that's for like 3% of the population. So if the card game appeals to like 20-30%, I think that's fine, because there's already things that appeal to only like the top percentage.
Correct.
So that's why it has me excited. It's less the card game and more I like the current focus on lateral systems. I also think the lateral systems are good because it does let them focus on quality of life, fixing the server architecture and things like that. And if they're balancing things, the last thing they need is another class, another combat ability, when they're already trying to like stabilize and balance things out. I think that gives them more leeway to focus on fixing that back end, like they've already kind of announced that they're going to be doing over the next year and a half for PvP, for example.
Right. And kind of to bounce off that, and something I believe it was on, I don't know, it could have been on the show or Lorecast. I don't know. I lose track of stuff at this point. But one thing that I to definitely second that is, since they are doing these upgrades to try to stabilize some longstanding issues and fix some stuff or whatever, and they're still working from home as well, having a system that is much less timing resource intensive. And what I mean by that is, like, active combat, you're going to notice if you get lag in active combat. The example is all of the PvP problems that everybody has. Like, it's because of stuff like that. A hiccup or a pause or frame drops in a card game are not going to be that impactful by comparison. So it's an easier system, I would assume, on resources. So while they're working on that, they haven't put on another resource intensive activity. So it adds something new, which, great, we'll see how much it appeals to people.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's not when Battlegrounds were added, that was a lot to add. Antiquities were much more chill, and this is kind of a much more chill thing as well, which I don't think will be quite as brutal on making sure it works, because any little hiccups, their big thing will be balancing it, not maintaining that it runs like the same way, a trial or PvP or a dungeon or something like that would be. So there again, I had mentioned hybridization is a continued thing that they are working with. And I see more and more from the PTS. I have not played on the PTS myself. People are, I've heard generally positive things about as this continues.
So there's two things that can happen in games when you add in hybridization, and we're going to have to, again, it's a wait and see. So with World of Warcraft, there's a lot of reasons why the fans there clamored for Classic and things like that. But a big thing you'd hear a lot of content creators talk about with World of Warcraft, ignoring all of the recent struggles and acquisitions of that, but even a couple years back, is as they hybridize things, there was this lost feeling where once things get down to just a couple stats, it has this potential to possibly take a lot of the choice and the feeling of different things out of it. So I understand there can be concern from that, because definitely seen how that worked in a game like World of Warcraft. But on the same hand, ESO does a really great job of having sets all have these different abilities that mix and match. So I feel like hybridization of more of the stats over time could end up being a really good thing and allow people who are doing concept builds or theory crafting or putting together builds focus more on the abilities of the set and less have to worry about, well, I like this ability, but I can't use this ability because it doesn't give me this or that. Sure. If it just has those other stats hybridized, I think it theoretically, again, this is all theory, can lead to an increase in the ability to like have more customization, which I like.
Yeah, I will, from my limited understanding of MMOs outside ESO, I will definitely kind of agree with that, at least from what I've seen. Because again, a lot of your setups and stuff, it's like you've got your class, and then it's really just once we were allowed to kind of like mix and match a little more. I mean, and it's been going like this a little by little, where it was one Tamriel, so the sets that you used to blow past just because of levels, suddenly, well, now you can use these at any level because you can get the gear to drop at any level. And it was about, well, what combo of sets do you like? What buffs and debuffs do you get off these or procs that do the thing? And it's like, okay, that then you start to get some variety. And now they've been leaning into this, like, okay, well, now we're going to have it be like, well, the sets aren't just, this is a magicka set or a stamina set. It's this is based on, it does this, and we're going to read what you do and base your damage or healing or tanking off that stat. And it's a base idea to the set.
Yeah, it's a crit set or it's a sustain set.
Exactly.
A damage set versus, specifically it's a magicka crit set or a stamina.
Right.
Sustain set. It's more about, this is a set that gives you sustain, and also if you get this many pieces, you get this ability and stuff.
Sure, and that's just it. It's like that's provided some good variety so far as things have changed like that. And I definitely like it, and I'll actually get into one specific thing that I haven't. I was kind of goofing around with, and then I really started doing it with the achievement system coming up, where they're going to universally have it become across all players, which, I've got, there's been some great videos done. Ironically, in the episode where both Nephis and Skinny were on the show, they have both released an individual video kind of discussing their ideas. And we had a great discussion on it last week. And for the sake of some people asking or podcast not being for everybody, I might actually just snip out my 11-minute bit on, I love this, but they could do this better. And I kind of hope they do to make it better for everybody. Because I think there's a way to make everybody almost happy with this. I mean, most people are pretty there's very few people who don't like the system coming up, but there's some bits to it that I think could be better. So
yeah, if I was going to have a council of talking heads who understand theory crafting and can read words on a piece of paper and just suddenly put it together like a beautiful mind, you just named two of them. Nephis and Skinny are pretty brilliant at being able to do that. So if you've got in detail, they're much more gifted in that department than me, and then they are really, really big brained about how that all kind fits together, will fit together, and could fit together.
Yeah. and I definitely share a lot of what they seem to think, and we all have like a little variation on a couple things, and they had a couple ideas that it's I didn't even think of that, because ours was like a day after we recorded, after that whole thing was announced. So it was like, yeah, we they had a little more time to think on it and come up with stuff a little better than I had originally. I was like, okay, I like this, but like, there's a lot of potential there and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to be getting into the fact that I've actually been playing on an alt recently, more than usual, as I don't super play on an alt. But oh my God, I've found a whole different part of the game that I've really been enjoying as of late, which I'm very pleased about. Also, along with, that whole goodness, the Daedric War celebration ended, and the next event that we have on the horizon, we don't have an exact date yet, is no longer called Mid-Year Mayhem. It's now going to be White Strake's Mayhem.
White Snake's 80s metal tour. I mean, White Strake.
Yeah, exactly. And every time you log in, it will be the theme done to guitars. Every time I'm on stream, I say White Snake, and I'm like, White Strake. White Strake. Sorry. Yeah, no, but that's just, hey, whatever. You can listen to White Snake while powering around in Cyrodiil.
I get the name change for Laura. Also, Mid-Year Mayhem's no longer Mid-Year Mayhem. It's a twice a year thing that's not necessarily at the middle of the year anymore.
Yeah, and I'm sure at this point, everyone at ZOS who heard my saying beginning year, mid-year mayhem was really tired of that stupid phrase that I kept saying, because I was so annoyed by there were two of them. I was happy there were two of them because it's my favorite event. But at the same time, me saying beginning year, mid-year mayhem every time, it's like, okay, we need something better because that's so stupid. Like, stop calling it that. But yeah, lore-wise, it's like, okay, cool. I like this. It'll be the same as all previous mid-year mayhems, unless there's anything they haven't announced yet about it. We don't know. This will be the first White Strake's mayhem incoming. But I assume it'll be toward the end of the month. The only thing that I wish was happening time-wise, but I mean, it's not going to, unless the event is comically long, which I can't imagine will be that.
I feel like they have standardized event length.
Yes.
I think we start on a Thursday, we go through a full week, we end very early on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, yeah. But we will not have the update 30, what is this? Update 33, right?
33.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Update 33, we won't have that out. So unfortunately, the fix to Battlegrounds game modes will not be there until after the event.
So I need to segue on this really quick.
Yes.
So I am recently more into PvP. I've been inching into it as I've been on PC.
Sure.
I did a bunch of Battlegrounds recently on a stream, and people were giving me advice, and I felt like I was slowly kind of getting this concept of how it works, and that's exciting and things like that. But the thing that always got me to do Battlegrounds back on PlayStation, the thing I really like, I understand the core PvP community loves deathmatch.
Sure do.
But the current system obviously isn't going to fix, and it's really frustrating because there's achievements, about hunting achievements that are for those types of games, and testing it off stream, I think painted over 30, and I did around 26 before I hit one non-deathmatch with the current system. So it's unfortunately, White Strikes will be a bunch of deathmatch. There's nothing wrong with a deathmatch. I do enjoy those other games. It's unfortunate that they're not gonna
be there. And I that's been a long-standing issue with myself, as like I need like a few more relic carrier kills to get my defensive medal. Well, okay, I can't remember the last time I played Capture the Relic, so let alone get a kill in that mode. Stuff like that. It's like, I'm very, very happy that mode's getting addressed so that we can play all of the modes, ideally, at least on some type of rotation. But yeah, it is a bit of a bummer that gets fixed after the PvP event. I was like, damn it, I'm going to be in PvP like nonstop. I would love to be able to work on those at the same time, but what are you going to do? At least it's coming. It is what it is. I'm definitely much more concerned about getting my 5th star, and I just need 3.5 million AP, I think, next event, and I become a Grand Overlord, which is going to be my focus more than individual game modes things. I'm just probably going to be trucking around in Cyrodiil.
That's what got me into PvP. As I'm sitting there, I got my Veteran black, I got my other blacks, and there's this beautiful, gorgeous matte black at 31 or 33 million AP legate.
Something, the legate black.
I know it's plus. I know it's 30 million, and then the ones if I'm going to get up to 33 million, then I mean, I might as well get into PvP enough in 2022.
Right.
I can't. If I can get every die except for Emperor, that's kind of become the goal, because Bastion is my end game, and I need those dies and I need those achievements. I need them.
Yeah, that's my big thing. Is it's funny because again, talk about like how people play things for such different reasons, and it's so funny because like until you hear all the other ways people play it, sometimes it doesn't click. And it was funny because I remember when I hit Legate originally, and I was in one of my trials group, and I showed up, and everybody noticed that my symbol had changed just because it does your symbol next to your name or whatever. And I was talking to somebody who was in my BGs when I hit it, and a bunch of people were like, "Oh my god, you got Legate Black!" And I'm like, "What is Legate Black?" And everybody's like, "Wait, you made it to that rank in PvP? You didn't do it for Legate Black?" I was like, "I don't. What is Legate?" They're like, "It's the amazing black dye color you get when you reach the rank of Legate." I was like, "Oh," it's like no idea.
Veteran Black is shiny, has a purple tint to it, is a gorgeous black they added, but Legate Black is the true matte black.
Got it.
And especially on hard materials like leathers, it looks like you want, like every other black is a little bit too light. If you want a leather jacket look on your leather, it's the best.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I was told. I was like, oh man, I was like totally me getting that something for somebody, something totally different as a reason, because I was just grinding out the levels. And the other thing mentioned, in chat from Soldier Ron, I didn't realize you'd be playing all team death matches. For the most part, with the way the current system is, back on the Red Diamond Courier episode, I forget which one offhand number that was of the show. Shout out to Dogged Bark, who like basically did some quick math on it, and the chance that you would get anything except team deathmatch is hysterically low, being that you're all in the same pool. So just as a quick thing, the idea is there is the team deathmatch pool, and then there is the all other objectives pool, which is
also the deathmatch pool.
Right, and that's the thing, is team deathmatch is in the objectives pool. So they're separated, but only sort of. So there's an only team deathmatch, and then there's all game modes is the problem. And when that happens, if you need 12 people to all queue within the acceptable time period in the all game modes queue, and the game needs to roll then not team deathmatch. If anyone rolls during that period and they queued just team deathmatch for the sake of trying to not keep people in queue, well, it could be that. It could be 11 people in one queue and one in team deathmatch queue. It's going to give you team deathmatch for the sake of speeding up the queue.
And the other thing that has been pointed out a number of times is it also defaults to deathmatch. So if you don't know to necessarily switch it, if you're new to doing it to battlegrounds and things like that, the default is deathmatch. So people also just kind of end up in that queue for that reason. But yeah, it's when they separated them before, they were truly separate.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of complaints that people who want to do objective things, your wait time could be 45, 50 minutes or more.
Yep.
I kind of almost prefer that to the current system, because even if I was waiting an hour, at least I was getting kind of the type of game. But yeah, it's they're trying their best, but it's a really difficult thing to mitigate.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's definitely like it's been a weird situation and has just resulted in not so great results for anybody wanting to play anything else. So, which again, if you're doing it for I just prefer other game modes personally. I'm fine with team deathmatch, but being that I'm not a DPS main, that's not really anything I contribute less in just team deathmatch than I can in objectives. Like I prefer the strategy of trying to figure out to get my team to win rather than I'm gonna just fuck up the other players more.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been the same way. I'm the same way in games like Halo and stuff like that too, where I like objectives more. And there's something in chat for audio listeners where Neonato said I got Chaos Ball game. And it ended earlier because everyone quit, which is another unfortunate thing that can happen if you manage to get an objective game. Is you have one person who just preferred to get deathmatch, they can just quit the game, and yeah,
exactly, and
then that needle in a haystack is gone again.
Yeah, and you know, Neo actually, this from chat, he's actually one of the people from my Perfecta team, and basically it seems like if Neo isn't running with us, Neo lives in BGs, so I always like to check with what his situation, how many games of not team deathmatch did you get, because that's his bread and butter type of thing. So like he's had some interesting experiences in there, but yeah, again, still very excited for the event. I do just wish that happened to get fixed beforehand. What are you gonna do? Well, it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. The other thing news-wise that I think is kind of worth mentioning is there is a board game that was announced from Chip Theory. It was actually announced a little ways back, but they've kind of done a little more information on it. It's called The Betrayal of the Second Era. They've kind of been slowly rolling out more information on it. You can check out all there is from it on the Elder Scrolls Online website. Do you play board games? Do you have any input on this type of deal?
I have a shelf behind me with 70 plus niche board games. I even have the Elder Scrolls, not the Elder Scrolls Online, but the Elder Scrolls game they have with like the armies, and things like that.
From Modifius.
Yeah. So I am all for niche style board games. I'm not familiar with the other games from the company that's developing I'm not familiar with Chip Theory.
Sure.
But they are a really respectable company, so I feel like putting the property behind a company that knows how to make board games, that is a really, really neat thing.
Yeah. It's another one of those things that I'll be very curious to see kind of how it plays out. I'll probably try to. I'm not the biggest board game person, although I'm totally fine with it. So I'll be very curious to kind of check it out and see what it is when it's finally released. It is neat that they've been kind of expanding out into some different things, because prior to like the minis you had mentioned, and a couple goofy off the wall things, like everybody has a version of Monopoly. Well, yeah, there's Skyrim-opoly type of deal, whatever. Yeah. But there's like the board game, and then they've done some other games, like, Legends was a card game, that type of thing. They're expanding out in different direction. Prior to that, the real big thing was just like there were the 2 novels, and they didn't take off, but it was also a different time type of thing. And I've mentioned that I personally like the novels, and I think they do contribute a decent amount, but they're more
novels.
Yeah. So have you read them both?
I have.
Okay, perfect. So I'm actually curious, because a lot of people haven't. So I'll be curious to see like anything you have maybe as an opinion on them. I enjoyed them quite a bit, but they definitely seemed like somebody who was contracted to write something for the series rather than a fan of the series writing something for the series.
That's 100% my opinion. So there's before obviously the new Star Wars canon, back when what's now called Star Wars Legends, there was books that were written by authors who were passionate about Star Wars, writing Star Wars stories. But at the same time, they would get really popular authors to write like novelizations of between the books of the Clone Wars or of the movies and stuff. And the books came off like those, where it's really good authors, but they're not necessarily passionate, like wanting to write stories in the universe as much as contacted authors, like you said, to right within the universe, which doesn't make them bad, but it's not the same feel as somebody who just was diving in to expand the lore and the world in the same ways.
Yeah, and as a result of that, I think the author was kind of probably nudged toward like, hey, involve this or this with Umbriel, and there are definitely some solid anchors in the series, but I've always said that it is a book series that if you like the Elder Scrolls as a series, you will enjoy this as a companion piece of media. If you just pick up these books, it's unlikely that it will bring you into the rest of the series. You kind of already are a fan if you're going to get into it, not the other way around.
If you read all the 500 plus pieces of written literature throughout Skyrim and other games, and the 4,000 plus pieces of lore scattered throughout Elder Scrolls Online, and you're digging and scratching for every little piece of information like someone like I am, again, that's why I love the books. But like you said, no one's going to read it and go, I need to jump into the Elder Scrolls. But if you're real invested in the Elder Scrolls, like like you said, a nice companion piece. It's definitely supports the people already into it versus introduces new people to it.
Yeah. So, that's fine and all, but it's definitely like, it's a different bit of media. And I feel like if they were to do novels now, they would take a different approach. But again, they are definitely not without merit. Honestly, there's audiobook versions that you can get all sorts of different places. I really enjoyed those. Because when I say I read the books, I listened to them at work like a podcast. And I really enjoyed them. I actually thought the narration was very, very good. Some of the pronunciation is kind of funny. But again, I really liked it. I thought it had some very good characters. And, the series as a whole has good characters, obviously. But to me, it's always been more of the environment rather than the characters. So having those novels be very, very character-driven was a little peculiar for me at first. And then I liked the way it ended up tying in. And then later on in the series, surprisingly, the series does not forget about the books like it doesn't forget about some of the weird games. Like, there's definitely nods to them throughout the series that a lot of people probably just don't see.
Yeah, the general approach to storytelling in Elder Scrolls has always been the cosmic to the macro to the micro. It has very amazing character-driven stories in ESO and in the other games, but it starts with this dragon. Well, even we go to Skyrim. This dragon was sent forward in time. This is the legend. This is the massive war. This is what's going on. This is the stories, and then it gets a little further down. Each city-state is going through these things, and then it gets to the character. It usually doesn't start with the character and expand the world like something like a Wheel of Time or something like this does in a storytelling. It starts from here, and then you get amazing characters who interact within it.
Yep.
But yeah, having them be character-driven is a little odd because we're used to Elder Scrolls being introduced almost on this grand scale, and like slowly the camera pans down onto
your little contribution to the whole event. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Any other news stuff that you can think of other than there's some Crown Store stuff shifting, which I personally don't go super into? Is there anything specifically out of the Crown Store you're super interested in coming up?
So before we go to that, I do want to say a little bit because we're talking about books and stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to, we'll compare to another game, another property. League of Legends has been League of Legends forever, but all of a sudden they're making a 2D fighting game. They're made an amazing animated show. You don't have to know League of Legends to understand.
I heard about the animated show is like hugely popular. People love it.
So they're taking this world, but they're doing it with in-house studios and stuff, and they're doing it with people who love it, which has made me think about the books. And I think something that Elder Scrolls is right for, in addition to books from people who are passionate about it, or even if you look at something like The Witcher, where Henry Cavill makes a great Geralt because he's passionate about the series. I kind of feel like Elder Scrolls, as we drift into board games and card games, is rife as a property if Microsoft, Bethesda, Cinemax all deem it so. That would bring people in. You can do an anthology-based series where each season's a different era, a different region.
Sure.
Introduce people through an animated series or through a live-action show. And I don't know, nothing's been announced like that, but when you see things like the Halo show and Arcane and all these things. It gets talked about a lot in my chat recently, and I think it's rife for that. And I think if they really wanted to expand and bring people more into the Elder Scrolls universe, looking at possibly expanding into a show, because there are definitely more eyes on Riot and League of Legends, and League of Legends is booming again because people were introduced through a show. Kind of like you said, no one's going to read the current books and go, I need to know more about Elder Scrolls.
Right.
With Arcane, they are with League of Legends. So that's, I just wanted to bring that up. And there's nothing announced about that. This is just a random brainstem from that is like, I think games are a good sign. I think if they expand into other media, they could get more eyes further into the product, because it's rife for that. Whereas there's people who might be intimidated by a game on the scale of like a Skyrim, or a game on the scale of Elder Scrolls Online, who might be more enticed if they saw a series and went, whoa, that lore is cool. That story is cool.
Right. And actually, to kind of go with that, there's the Fallout show, like sister series, that is finally like getting going. I mean, it seems like COVID kind of botched the whole initial push for that, but I was going to say that's in the works, and that both Elder Scrolls and Fallout kind of push in the same direction, but from different genres. Like, it's the same type of game, but two different settings. And the other thing, kind of to your point of like, oh, well, you could do these different eras or something like that. The one thing that I've always thought would be very, very cool is you could take one of the non-main plots and turn that into a mini series very, very easily. The one that I always thought would be fascinating, and it would be like, you could just use the information that was there. Players would know how it plays out, but not the fine details. The entirety of the Betrayal of Nerevar and the Battle at Red Mountain. That is cinematic gold.
That's why I said anthology, because you chose like American Horror Story or True Detective can be different. So yeah, you have the Battle at Red Mountain and the Betrayal of Nerevar and all that stuff. And then another season, you can have stuff dealing with the rise of Tiber Septim, or these things that we know about that wouldn't unveil all this extra lore, have to be like, show that, but would lead into things like, we know what happened, but yeah, like you said, there's cinematic gold because we know what happened, but we could see it play out.
Right, and with the unreliable level detail, and the unreliable narrator thing gives it some room for interpretation, which is a lot of criticisms that shows get. Oh, why'd you condense this? Oh, why'd you do this? And I get it, because sometimes when they make changes, I'm like, if I already know the background to something, happened with Game of Thrones, happens with The Witcher, happens with everything, and Wheel of Time, stuff like that. So it's like, I definitely get it. But with the unreliable narrator, which is not entirely unique to the series, but the degree that they do it is pretty unique to the series, it would be interesting to be like, well, this is the interpretation of it. Doesn't mean that it's absolutely set in stone. As long as they cover the main plot points, a lot of it can still be up for interpretation.
Well, yeah, and from a cinematic standpoint, you don't have to set that. Let's go with the Betrayal Nerevar. It doesn't have to be set from the perspective of
anyone.
Sothasil or the Nerevar. If you insert a character that's kind of our insert, it has that unreliable narrative thing, because this is a tale that was told from this person's perspective. So their perspective, there's things that could be missed and things like that. And you can keep that unreliable narrator. So it's not like, oh, they messed this up, because it's from that kind of perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many different things. Like, they would have so much to work with. So I personally would love that. And then, like I said, each of the seasons, you wouldn't even need to watch a previous season to necessarily, have you seen the Elder Scrolls Chronicles or whatever? It's like, okay, yeah. Well, do I have to watch the first 5 seasons? No, each story is independent of each other. It's all in the same timeline, but they're jumped all over the place, which is just the way the series works anyways. So even that would fall into line.
And that's why I always thought that would work if the more I rack my brain out, because that works so well for like another good example is like The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Bly Manor. Yep.
Like, and if you want to have some consistency through line with different things, you can do what they do with those shows, which is you can reuse actors in different roles, because nobody goes, oh, that's the same character. Like, I just feel like it's right for that. I feel like that could bring people in, and I think the real thing that got us speaking is there is movement on the Fallout show that is a property owned by Bethesda up to ZeniMax up through Microsoft, which means and they're making a Halo show, so there is the potential there for it to happen.
And if it does well, we might see this. I mean, if it totally bombs, they might not.
That's right. Yeah,
I was gonna say some of the Halo ventures have been. Well, let's just say I don't like the Halo ventures in cinema. I like Halo. I don't like their cinema versions.
Yeah, it was just interesting. Talking about board games and the books made me think like that's...
No, and that's actually a very good point. So, yeah, I love that expanding out of the universe to different things. As you can probably tell from the physical stuff behind me, it's like I have a literal fridge from Fallout that's an actual fridge that's a Nuka-Cola fridge, but it's like I keep energy drinks and beer in it. So, like, all that extra stuff, I love that crap. It's so much fun. Like that, I like real life equivalents of things from series I like, not even necessarily just Elder Scrolls or Fallout, like any of that stuff. So yeah, definitely agreed there wholeheartedly. But yeah, so I guess any other news related, anything you're looking forward to on the horizon that we haven't jumped into?
Yeah, like as much as I do pay attention to the housing and crown crates, I like my Gamba and all of that. There is new stuff that's going to be for sale. It's as epic and amazing as it always is. But I think the only other thing I want to talk about, because we touched on a little bit, is account-wide achievements are a huge thing. As you were talking about playing on an alt, you are like me, where your main is your main and you play it the most because, well, if you're going to get all the achievements, you want to open up the achievement score counter and see your number.
Yes, because you
don't want to have to add up your numbers across your characters to figure it out. So account-wide achievements, I feel, is a very good thing for the game, because players like you, players like me, there's a lot of players like that. I now no longer have to go, well, I need to figure out how to make this character do this thing, because I can do that on an alt, embrace my alt to do that thing, knowing that the number will be fed into the bigger achievement number, and I don't have to feel like I can't play on my alt right now because I need to put another 1,000 points on this achievement score, please.
Right. And yes, that's like a big thing. And, what I was talking about, which I'll probably try to do that clip thing for people to... I don't view... And everybody does things differently, which is why I kind of like the idea of kind of like... having it just unlock across all your characters is one way of doing something. I really thought if they were ever going to do something like this, which I'm not going to lie, I just straight up didn't think they were going to ever do anything like this. I've always thought it was peculiar, without going totally down the path of talking about this all over again.
Yeah, sorry to
No, but it's something that I seriously do kind of like. I always view this as a player profile. Like, what do you do? Like, what did you accomplish? Did you earn Immortal Redeemer? We'll go with just that. Yeah. Did you earn Immortal Redeemer? It's yes, you used it. You did it on that character, but like that doesn't mean like that's fine, and I'm fine with you knowing which character you did it on, but as a player, if you're on some character that has like 430 points or whatever, it's like, oh, I've only done fishing in the Rift and like some quest. It's like, well, yeah, but you as a person have done Immortal Redeemer. You granted you did it on a different character, but like I would like to know what you as a person also did.
Yeah, I was going to say the achievement is not my character's achievement. I mean, I use the character to do it, but like you're saying, to me, a lot of times the achievements are, that's what I have accomplished, and I want to be able to show what I've accomplished in the game.
Right. And that's why, like, my proposed thing is much more of, you should have, as opposed to just giving the achievement to everybody, I thought if they were to ever do this, they would have a master, like, here is the profiles achievement count, and it is made out of all of the achievements,
right?
And each character has their own personal achievement thing, so that you can keep track of it. You can earn stuff on whatever you want. It doesn't kill the incentive of, I like earning something over and over and over again. That's totally fine. But in that case, it would be the you would have a master file to tell you all of the stuff that you earned.
I honestly thought if they ever were going to do this, and again, I also thought that closest we get to account-wide achievements was Lucky Ghost's 2-part emote that said account-wide achievements, to be honest. I thought it would stay in the meme. Yeah, I honestly always thought it would also go the profile way, where I could have a profile. Here's my profile. Here's all the achievements. Like you said, individual achievements across the characters still.
Right. And that would kind of help with some of the problem of people liking to earn stuff multiple times or knowing which character they earned it on or whatever. Because that might not matter to me personally, but they shouldn't. I'm also understanding of, well, yeah, but if that's your thing, that's what you like to do, there's no reason to take that away from you either when there is kind of a solution around it.
Yeah. But I think, again, this is speculative. I don't work for ZeniMax. There's nothing that confirms this. I speculate based on the achievements that aren't account-wide because they're tied to things like gaining skill points and things like that,
yes,
and how they're doing this system, and how part of doing account-wide achievements is making sure all your characters have titles. I feel like this also might be one of those convoluted back-end system things they never thought they'd have to do.
Correct.
And to make it work, they have to do it this way. And again, there's nothing that confirms that, but it kind of feels like, looking into it, that might be why they went this way versus a different way. Is this the easiest way to get here?
Yes, I think you might be right. So, and they might just not have accounted for maybe some of these other thoughts, or it's like, oh, well, it's going to be.
They also might not have accounted for somebody who wants to go out and be like, I have trifecta every dungeon in the game on 9 characters.
Correct. But it's there for those people who want. So also, there's still time to work on this. So that's what PTS is for.
Yeah, it's to give feedback. So that's
So I hope not so much for myself personally, but for people that do like that type of thing. I hope there's like maybe a happy medium they can come up with along those lines, to allow both groups to be happy. Because again, I've seen very little straight up not liking the system. It's you either like the system as it is, or you don't care entirely because you just don't give a shit about any of this stuff, or it's like, I like it and I'm glad that it's a universal thing, but it could be better. Like, it's like one of those three for the most part.
See, for me, I'm a collector. So the things that I like about it is having my titles I unlock available on all my characters is like, we already have, which all of our dyes, all of our motifs are available on all of our characters.
The
and the other thing is the skins. The other thing is the achievement furnishings. And this seems like a simple thing, because it's only an extra couple logins and logouts, but it will be nice if I'm decorating on a character, not to go, which character has X achievement, so I can go to this achievement furniture and buy that. I can just take whatever character and go buy them. So I see the convenience in it, but I also understand there is people who like to have their individual characters obtain the different achievements as well.
Absolutely. So,
and then of course there's the people who are just like, I don't look at achievement points past the unlocks I get. I don't care what the number is. I'm just going to do this or that for this unlock.
Right. And to be fair, if they didn't have numbers, I probably wouldn't be too distraught over that. My thing is just, I don't like any of those little boxes not being checked. I just like it. And then like the numbers is a great way of just tallying up. Oh, well, how close am I to all of them? I gain absolutely nothing killing 500 livestock. There's no dye color. There's no title. There's no achievement furnishing. There is no logical reason to do it. It is 5 achievement points. Yep.
But you're going to be damned if I'm not going to pick up 5 achievement points.
Correct.
Because it gave me a number.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing with, there's a couple real pieces of crap in Moonhunter Keep. There's some strangling cowardice is real awful.
The offshoot vet dungeon one. Some of those are
yes. Some of the and the one that I constantly joke about is Cubed, which is just a living nightmare for anybody who hasn't tried Cubed. Cubed is 5 points, I believe. I don't think it's even 10. I'm almost positive Cube is 5 points. And in Moongrave Fane, which again, points for creativity, and I had mentioned this before, points for creativity with the sliding cubes mechanic, the blocks thing, but also never do
the cubes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but also never do that again, because it's neat that it's different. It's bad because it's awful.
I'm happy they tried something new. If they didn't try something new, we wouldn't have the grappling mechanic, which
which I love.
Yeah, which I love. And they were elsewhere in Southern Elsewhere is where we got grappling and also cubes.
Yes.
So I think we get the good because of the bad.
Yes.
Ron in chat brings up something I also think is good, which is achievement numbers are a good reason to tie rewards to the numbers. I think would be awesome. Like if I get to X number, having a reward tied to it, I think would be actually
agreed.
Awesome.
I'm surprised they've never done something with that. Like, oh, you cleared 40,000. You unlock this thing for 4. And then there's so many avenues you can do. Well, maybe not quite that high because that's a lot, but I mean, even that high, whatever.
Well, you could have some, like, people love to show off, like, the rarer the cosmetic, not rarity because of like artificial scarcity or because of crown crates, but because this personality, this skin, this mount is hard to get. You want to put that on because you want people walking around town to see it. So yeah, having something that's like I cleared 40,000 or 42,000, that's this like rare thing that you have to put in that level of work to get would be cool because those people can walk around. People go, wow, that person puts in a lot of work.
And there's multiple avenues. It doesn't need to just be end game like, oh, I do all the trifectas or perfectas or whatever. No. It's like I went out fishing and nuked Cyrodiil and I like to explore, so I've got all the sky shards and I have all the quests and stuff like that. It's like there would be multiple ways to reach it, which is encouraging all sorts of different play styles type of thing as well. So yeah, the cumulative number to Ron's point is absolutely. I'm surprised they've never done some type of reward to that, like tying it to that. But yeah, and also in case we didn't make it clear, the cubes, please, never again.
No more cubes. I was doing Elsewhere full zone clears recently on stream, and I'd never done Southern Elsewhere because that's when I left console and I didn't come back till right before Markarth.
Got it.
And so I encountered the cubes for the first time, and I kept even the cubes that are just for the questing, normal questing. I was just like I keep hitting them, and I'd be like, oh, I hate these cubes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of funny.
Trying something new, but no more cubes.
Exactly, and the cubed achievement, which I do know is literally considered, at least on the forums, one of the most infuriating achievements. Neo with the table flip emote. What you need to do to get cubed is in Moongrave Fane, the dungeon on Veteran. You need to fight the gargoyle boss with these little flame spout geysers. And there are 2 cubes. And what you need to do during that fight is you need to cover 3 geysers in 3 seconds.
Oh, no.
It is awful because you have to get 1-over-1 and you need to baseball bat the other one across 2, basically, with it. It's just... And obviously, since it's on Vet, you can't just get slapped in the face by anything. Like, you got to be somewhat careful. Even with, like, a good build, you got to be somewhat careful because there's individual enemies popping up around the thing. You've got the main boss, and then you're trying to time that. You've got to get, yourself lined up so you can actually do that in enough time. And the other problem, which is something that is... There's 2 types of achievements, and this is getting real nitpicky, and we'll move on for the achievement thing after this. There are 2 types of achievements. Ones that pop the second they are done. The second one is things that pop once the fight is complete.
Right.
This is the third boss.
You have to do 3 cubes on the third boss in 3 seconds, and also make sure you do that while succeeding on the fight.
Yes, because it will not pop mid-fight when you do it. It will pop post-fight. So you don't find out if you did it right until after the fight's over, at which point you need to restart the dungeon if it did not. It is just
because you couldn't even
find out if you did it.
Oops, it was 4 seconds. It was 4 seconds. I need to do
correct. Just awful. Just fucking awful, man. It's not a good time. It's not a good time. I don't suggest that one for real. It's rough.
I'll have to get it.
Yeah, and that's just it. We're prepping ourselves to give it another shot. We did try for about 3 hours once, and there were a couple. One of them, because we did frame by frame VODs to figure out how we didn't get it. One of the VODs, if I remember correctly, we technically did it in 3.2 seconds. So we did do it in 3 seconds because a fourth second hadn't clicked over. But when we did the frame by frame, it was over 3 seconds. So it does not count because just because it doesn't click 4 seconds doesn't mean it's 3 seconds or less. It was just,
right. The timer is, okay. Well, that's,
it's a real nightmare. It's a real nightmare. So yeah, that one is, yep. It's,
and yeah, no, that's horrible. I'm not excited. I'm not excited for that.
No, that one's rough.
Now, I'm now feeling like maybe Emperor's in my future even before, and I'm not a PvP. Damn.
Yeah.
The last thing about the upcoming patch 33 I want to bring up, because I think it's this very, very, very cool. I don't know if it's patch 33 or if it's the actual release, but I think it's patch 33, which is, I love that they're adding, starting, hopefully this releases more stuff, an outfit style to PvP that is not something that you can just be sold on the vendors.
Yes.
Because back to getting things that are special, back to achievement points you unlock things, I feel like there is more pull to PvP if they have cool things that are linked just to PvP, that they get to walk around and say, I'm a PvPer, I got this, not I have a lot of gold, so I bought this from this PvPer to make them rich because I want to own it, which is most of the things from PvP that I have.
Correct. I was going to say there's the big one obviously is the I don't know, the bikini thong thing that everybody always likes to get. I don't know what it's called, the actual costume name, but Timber Crow, maybe something like that.
Something like that.
Yes, something along those lines that everybody likes to get, which is a PvP. Well, it's actually a PvE in PvP zone thing, if I remember correctly. So it's not even technically PvP. There's that, and there was the one. Actually, there's one in the Crown Store, which is always funny. The discount version, you can be a fabricant, a silver one, but then if you get the drop from the Vet Asylum Sanctorum +2 trial, there's a very, very, very low chance that a coffer will drop that has a gold polymorph, and you can sell it. And that's just it. I always assumed people bought it for the longest time, and then I realized that when I was working, toward my Immortal Redeemer with people, if anybody dropped them, it was all about, like, everybody in the group's like, no, I want to drop that because I want $3 million. That's what I want to do. I want to wear it. I want to sell it for $3 million to somebody else who wants it. I was like, oh, okay. So the people earning it aren't often even the people wearing it sometimes, which I thought was kind of interesting because, to your point, you can sell it, which is neat because it does do something for the economy, but also having some that are locked to you earning it is also neat. Like,
the inflation in the economy is out of control, and we need more gold sinks.
Oh my god, yeah, you PC folk scare me. With
chromium, I don't gold jewelry because one chromium plating has officially reached 285,000.
See that that
means the gold. That means it's a million gold to gold jewelry. So why gold my jewelry for the? Because I'm not doing that tiny percent content.
It is like a 0.5% of quality. Yeah,
I'm not at that point of content where that matters. So, yeah, I'm just making millions off chromium. But the economy, when I talk to people who are on console, I'm like, oh yeah, economy bad.
yeah. So like as a comparison. Also, Ron, thank you. It's the Timber Crow Wanderer, so we were close. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Since the last time I sold, it's up to 330.
So now it's 330 per chromium.
250 since last time I sold, which was admittedly of like a month ago. So
on console, ballparking wise, it's about 70K. For a chromium plate.
What's funny is that's how much it was when I started October 2020 when I moved to PC. It was about 85.
Yeah, and the one that I'm always mesmerized by is looking at the crown to gold conversion. If you're selling crowns, with the Tamriel.
It's over 2,000 on PC NA most of the time.
Yeah, and I know EU's even wackier. I've heard.
Yeah, and PlayStation members of my community are like 100.
100.
Oh, they're like sometimes I got to do. Sometimes it's inflated. I have to make 200.
Yeah, and that's just it. Generally the standard is 100. If it's low, you'll get to 110, 120 sometimes, and if things are really flooded, it'll be 90. But I always offer, like, because that's how I get a lot of my stuff, and I'm just like, oh yeah, 100, and it's like, as fast as I can buy stuff, it's just totally fine. And then I hear PC prices, I'm like, oh my god.
So this is why I forgot you were a console player. This is why I thought you were nuts last time I was on the podcast, because you had said, oh yeah, I just use gold to crowns. I buy the book, I get the new motif, and then when the motif stuff drops, I sell it on Guild Traders, and eventually I make my gold plus back. So it kind of pays for itself. But that way I have the motif early on. It's bound that way, and I can sell it back. And I go, no, the conversion wasn't working in my head because I was using PC
prices.
I was like, I don't think it sells for, yeah. So now I understand.
That would be why it works, because it would not work on PC. It's a very different beast. Because I currently am collecting the Daedric, the ancient Daedric from the Deadlands maps ones.
Deadlands maps are 300,000 on average.
Okay, see, and ours are 50K-ish. And I am 0 for 5 on them so far, so I basically needed to buy all of the pages so far. And yeah, it's expensive in console terms. I can't imagine what those pages cost.
I'm 2 for 2, and one of them's the chest, so I'm really lucky because I've only used the maps that I've gotten, and I'm 2 for 2, and I almost sold the chest because they were worth so much.
That's the most expensive piece.
Yeah. I only don't have 3 motifs. The newest one because I haven't been grinding the dungeon.
Yep.
The Daedric one because it's annoying, and because when I came to PC, I've been doing all the DLC first, and I haven't gone and done Cadwell Silver, so I don't have Soul Shriven.
Okay.
But I'm basically holding out hope 2022 has a Deadlands event like they did for Blackwood, and that they will drop an increased rate of maps so that it will be affordable for me to get it. Because
I'm not plunge the price. Yeah.
Because for the Blackwood ones, because there's more maps, I was willing to spend 60K a map. I was willing to invest because I did the price on how much the pages sold for and how much I spent on maps. Yep. And I basically saved about 1.6 million, and then I made another 2 million back selling duplicates. So like it was I ended up spending like a little over $1 million, but like for the Deadlands, I'd be spending who knows how much as well.
Yeah, but literal probably tens of millions.
Yeah.
And the only piece I have left is actually the helmets now. I've been whittling my way through them. And actually, shout out to Black Hammer. I don't think he actually knows about this podcast. I have zero idea because sometimes I'm surprised who actually listens to this stuff. But he recently introduced him from a trials team, and we've been running our achievement. He's part of the new achievement group that we've got on Mondays that we've just been kind of goofing around doing some random achievements and dungeon stuff. And he pulled chess in a map, and he cut me a huge deal on it to not bankrupt me, which was awesome of him. So, thank you, Hammer. I still appreciate that because now I just have the helmets left, which granted, they are the second most valuable piece. But at the same time, he helped me out a shitload by doing that, which I really, really appreciated. So, whoops.
I just did it. I had to do a quick search. So, crafting motif 104 ancient Daedric chess on PCNA's average selling price market value right now is 2.5, which looks like it's actually a bit down from the 3 million it was.
Okay, so that I guess
that's actually better than I thought it was.
So we're closer in parity, but most of the time it was 1 to 1.6 was what I was finding them on.
And the helmets are about 2.2.
Oh boy, yikes! Yeah. RNG when it relates to collecting stuff is rough. But yeah, anything else? Because we've got the achievements covered. We got a new season of stuff, obviously, to buy. One thing that they did not mention, but then I saw there was a patch note. Actually, I meant to reach out to them, them being the game sauce, about this because I was sort of confused. I don't know if you have any more details on this. This is kind of weird, but since we've been talking about motifs, it reminded me of it. One of the notes was the red petal Bastion style, motif style, which was listed as fix the error where it wasn't dropping. Is it even in game yet? Or was that the glitch? Because it's never been in the store, and with dungeons, they always put it in the store and the dungeon at the same time. It has never been in the store. Whereas the one from the Dread Cellar actually was.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just saying the wrong...
like the Dread Cellar wasn't dropping, maybe? Because
the Dread Cellar wasn't dropping for everybody.
Yeah, because I do know
that it has been dropping, but...
Yeah, it has been dropping, but maybe it was screwed up because when they said Red Petal Bastion, I was very confused because I was like, well, that's never been in the store.
That one's coming.
Right, that's what I was going to say. But then I also didn't see it in the upcoming season, unless I missed it. I went through it a couple times. But I didn't see...
I'm actually looking at motifs real quick.
And yeah, B King 85, thank you. They said Silver Roll Style isn't in there.
Yeah, Fargrave Guardian motif will be made available during an upcoming update, and that's for Fargrave World bosses.
Yep.
And the Annihilarch's Chosen motif is going to be for the Oblivion portals. But yeah, those are... Yeah,
there's nothing about that. It's a little...
What's the motif called again?
Silver Rose Style, I believe.
Yeah, Rose. Yeah, because it's in the lore book as a style, but they put them in there early sometimes.
They do. They always put the achievements in the... It's something that bugs me. I get why they do it. I understand the reasoning to it because they want to extend the longevity of people farming something. I get it. But when they launch something, usually when it was... is there...
Silver Rose Style is upcoming crafting motif for minus the Rose Armor sets up bear. It's not.
Okay.
Not released, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
I know. So I think that might have been a typo or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like that has to be a typo.
Yeah. I wonder if it was correcting the Dread Cellar, because I know the Dread Cellar had some weird drop rate problems, so maybe it was that.
There were people who weren't getting drops and stuff from it, so I feel like they just accidentally typed in the wrong.
The wrong of... You had a 50% shot and you just happened to pick the wrong dungeon, because that's the thing, is they always do that in unison, because that's, to what you were saying, that's how I do things. Like, and... It's we got kind of ahead of ourselves with the dungeon clearing, so we actually got the Perfecta in there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be farming that place. I already finished, so I guess I'm just at a net loss on that one. But what do you call it? The thing that they do is they release the dungeons. Everybody dives into... Well, everybody that's going to dive into the dungeons dives into the dungeons because they're fun, they're new, all this good stuff. You do them, and then later down the line, they put in the achievements for the motif styles you get out of the dungeons. So then it encourages people to go back in and refarm.
Get back in there, yeah.
Right, and I get that, but we like to go in balls to the wall and like let's knock out this speedrun no death hard mode altogether. And it's like, that'd be great if we were getting the motifs while we were doing the practice for it. And recently it started to be like, okay, well, we beat it and the motif isn't even out yet. So awkward. Like, I get it because it's going to increase the longevity of people going in. But it's problematic for the way I do it. Okay, so yes, that there it is. So yeah, Dread Cellar was having the issues. Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Oh, it had a cooldown. That's what the error was. Thank you so much, B King and SD.
It had a cooldown.
It had a 20-hour cooldown. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Now that you guys say that, so thank you so much actually for clarifying that. Appreciate that. That is what it is, because that light bulb as soon as they said that. That is actually exactly what the problem was. It had a 20-hour cooldown. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like Silver Style is not in the game yet.
Yes.
We know where it's going to come from, but it's not there yet.
Correct. It's not there yet, which it does mock me in the menu because it's just like, hey, you have everything from this DLC. Oh, just kidding. You don't have these. And it's like, damn it.
If you look at your lore books, it says 0 of 14 collected. I'm like, I can't collect them.
Yeah, it's like, I can't collect them. That's not fair. You can't judge me yet. No. But yeah, okay. So there we go. Very long, convoluted solution. Thank you from chat for helping out with that one. That's pretty much it. There's obviously a new season of Crown Crates and stuff like that coming. Standard housing stuff, lots of new stuff on the horizon, but nothing specifically that I was like jumping out for, except the dungeons themselves, obviously.
The new house is beautiful, but new houses are on average 14,000 pounds. That's $99. They're $99 USD. They have a 14-day window to create artificial scarcity, and that's fine. It's one of the three big ways I assume they. Yep. If you look at it, it's probably ESO plus crates and houses how they mostly finance the game, right? And I get that, but it's like, it's hard to. I don't want to get into it because it's a subset of people. Like, am I interested? Will I buy it? Yes. Will I take a look at it? For sure. But at the same time, like it's $100 house. It's not a thing everybody can go out and acquire if they want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an option there for people to mess around with. If that's your thing.
Here's the thing I'm most interested in. If we're going to talk about like housings and pets and stuff, to not talk about the Crown Store is, if we follow last year's progress, we found out what the pet was, Morpholith. This year it's the awesome dragon, way cooler than the Morpholith. Anyway, personal opinion. We found out that and we got the skin to start with. We got the skin for the first three, and it was somewhere around March, the release of the dungeons, that they didn't show all three of the next things. They showed the second thing, but they told us what the third and fourth thing is. So I'm really curious if it's going to go skin, personality, mount, house, because we generally get every year we get one free house. So more interested than the purchased houses. I'm like, every year there's at least one house. In the past, it used to be like Scrying or Somerset community events to get a house. Then there was like Southern Elsewhere where you can still put together the lunar house, and then then they did this one where it was from these. So I'm just curious what free house we'll get. I'm always curious about new free houses and new houses you can get with gold.
Yes, yeah, because I was going to say originally the option was gold or crowns, and when it was like tied to the achievement thing for that, I went through to get the Lord title, I believe it is, where you own all three mega mansions, and then I bought the 5 or 7 second tier house and the 5 or 3 other tier houses, and it's just like, oh my god, that was such a gold sink.
That's what I'm actually working on PC myself. Is I'm working on doing these zone clears. So at the end of the zone clears, I can drop my million or eventually my like 4 millions to grab, because there's 54 houses in the game you can acquire with gold, not crowns. And
correct.
I'm not going to spend enough real money to collect every house again, but I want to eventually own all 54 houses that I can acquire through my own means.
Yes, from earning them in game, not earning them necessarily from going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's it on my side of the news stuff. Anything else we need to cover that's the majority of it. More PTS stuff, obviously, to come as it continues on. That's something that always, continues more as it goes.
This episode will probably go out after this already happens, since this will happen on Monday. But for anybody who is listening live, something I'm excited for is I'm one of the people who's affected by PTS, where I can't log on to PTS. And Monday's first batch of fixes for anybody who's still locked out of PTS will let us on there. So I will finally get to actually set foot onto public test server on Monday. So
that's great. That's great. I forgot all about that. I had heard about that, where that was kind of like it's weird. The PTS needs a fix, but yeah, it's kind of funny. So I guess that lets us jump into what have you been up to, Loctavian, in game? What have you been tackling?
For the most part, I've been on zone clears. So finished Clockwork during the event. I'm in a really weird sequence of zones because I've already kind of played through the story before, so I've been going weird. But I've cleared Somerset in its entirety, minus one or two small, like the daily achievements. I've cleared Northern Elsewhere, Southern Elsewhere, Clockwork City. So for the DLC zones, I am down to just Murkmire needing a full clear, and then like a handful of minor achievements, nothing connected to like dyes or furnishings.
Sure.
In those other zones. So I've been zone clearing, and I also been finally took me over a year, but I finally decided it's time to get back into it. So I've been doing vet dungeons with the community. I've been doing normal trials, and finally taking my Nightblade healer out for a spin because I said I want to be a healer. I never healed on console, but I love Nightblades, and I don't care if everybody says it's the most difficult class to heal with because it's what I love.
Yeah, hey, it doesn't need to be meta to be completable. Like, it's just not a thing that this game requires. You can get away with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of room for working with your team's dynamic, which is one of the things that I really, really like about this game.
Yeah, meta might apply a lot if you're doing like a lot of pugs, where it's just like it's easier just to slot in what's known. But yeah, if you're working with a group, you can easily accommodate each other. That's what I do love about the game is you can't do anything as long as like, hey, yeah, I'm lacking this, but I can make up for it with this set. If somebody else runs this, then we can,
exactly. And that's like a big thing, which to your point about the pug thing is you're more likely to sync up if you're using a meta set, because if other people are using meta sets, it's kind of like a standardized, like, oh, well, if you just throw random people together and they're all using a standard meta, well, yeah, they'll kind of fall into sync. Whereas like if you want to do weird stuff, you got to have some, well, not that you have to, because you can get away with a lot of stuff just for clears, but if you're going for score pushing or trifectas or perfectas, you're going to want to make sure you have things to make your life easier.
Nightblade healing I found is actually really fun, even if it has a steeper learning curve, and Kiki Joe and people have mentioned in chat. Nightblade healers have ungodly sustain. I can make really dumb smash and cheap burst heal and an amazing burst heal. So I can smash out heals and still have like 20-25% of my mana left and not really worry about a life of sustain and be able to focus on crit and stuff. It's really fun. It's just, that's what I've been doing, is doing vet dungeons and slowly but surely getting the sets and learning how to maximize the Nightblade healer, which I'm calling the Swiss Army healer, because I'm collecting multiple sets. I can slot in this item, depending on what item their more standard healer has, or slot in this ability or that ability. But yeah, I've that's what I've been doing, is getting slowly into end game with a Nightblade healer and doing zone clears.
Yep.
I'm also at 28,000 achievement points now, so just another 20,000 something to go.
Yes, because I was going to say, I believe the current total is 48,850. I think is what it's currently sitting at.
Almost 49,
yeah, almost 49, because I'm missing about 1,800 off the total myself. I'm trying to wedge my way up there. Digging my way up the chart. It's just these last ones. It's 48,885. Okay, so I was close, but a little off. There we go.
Just a hair under.
Yeah, just a hair under. So it's like, what do you call it? But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so you've been doing some zone clearing. Anything else you've been up to? You had mentioned you've gotten back into what do you call it? Dungeons and stuff like that. That's always pretty solid. Did you mention you had trials too that you had started to jump back into?
Yes. Yeah, member of the community, Dayhawk's been running normal mode kind of learner trials. So I've been doing, earlier today did my first ever normal rock road clear. So learning the initial mechanics, doing it on normal, getting ready and getting comfort with taking the step to vet, but been doing, gearing up and stuff in normal trials.
Nice. What do you call it? No, that's actually pretty sweet, because like I had mentioned last week that I had just finished all of our dungeon perfecta runs. So the only 4-player thing we had left was to go on to Unchained, which I don't like Black Rose Prison personally, or It's just it wasn't. I didn't think it was super great in any way. It was fine. It was whatever, and slogging through it was pretty brutal. But our group has, at this point, we've gone through literally every dungeon in the game for the speedrun no death hard mode. So we've worked together long enough that we're like, okay, well, we know each other's playstyle. Much to what everybody was saying about the meta thing. Well, we don't really do meta per se, but we definitely play off each other's strengths and stuff like that.
Well, the people who get really fixated on meta, I feel like, are in the high intermediate tier. Right? Once you get to a certain progress tier, like you said, the meta is we know each other's playstyle, we know what works with each other, we've maximized ourselves based on our knowledge of what the other three people will be doing. So I've built myself around knowing the other three people what they're doing. Like I said, you do have to hit like damage thresholds and things like that.
Yep.
But mechanics also play a huge part, and knowing what the other person's going to do, knowing that I place this down because this buffs them, they do this because we know each other, we know how it's going to roll. Or if we're going to change it up ahead of time, able to go, hey, I'm going to try this out. Let's see how this works tonight.
Yeah. And that's just it. It's like, and I've mentioned sometimes it does get awkward when certain people don't like from a VOD or something like that. They're like, well, why are you doing that? I was like, dude, we just did the speedrun no death hard mode at the same time. What the hell do you care? Like, what? Well, you could do it 5% faster. That's fine. We were 9 minutes under the speedrun. I don't need to do it 5% faster. We literally just did it and nobody died. That's my end goal here. So, like, it's just kind of funny.
Ultimate meta really matters if you are score pushing. Score pushing because you need to every tiny little point to put yourself on that leaderboard.
Yeah. And the thing is, which I thought was very amusing when Nephis brought it up, is like, generally when you're score pushing, you're also not using the meta because you're trying to figure out something that works that becomes the meta.
When he was on my podcast, said the same thing. It's like, actually, you're not doing meta when you're score pushing because if you just do the meta, like, you'll get closer. You're trying to figure out the thing that's going to give you that extra edge on everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty funny, like that's kind of like it. Like, to your point, the meta is almost like this intermediate, or it's a guideline. Is a lot of things. It's like, you want major sorcery, major prophecy. Like, you want these things. How you get them is what works. When somebody's just like, no, I have to use this, that's where it gets really awkward and inflexible.
Yeah, you as a healer have to do this. I'm like, well, actually, yeah, you want those certain things. And we'll loop back to the start of this podcast. That's where hybridization, especially with patch 33, is coming in, because it's not just stats. We are seeing certain buffs merged together.
Yes, they're hybridizing the buffs.
And by hybridizing the buffs actually opens up even less of a meta playground, because it's like, you can't be meta because you can't do this, or like, actually, I can provide.
I will do this because I'm still covering this thing, and that's the goal to it. It's like you covering as many buffs as possible, then it becomes practice. It becomes reps, and that's how you get there. But it's like, it's just another phase of it. So it's like, I've been very interested to see as people are starting to get their fingers into all of that, how it plays out going forward with some of the new stuff, and that's just it. So it's like, we've been doing Unchained, and we had our first session this week, and I actually only had like 3 clears of that place, which I joked about. And in our run Wednesday, I was like, cool, we got 2 clears in our little 2-hour session type of thing. And I joked, I was like, cool, we cleared this place 2/3 as many times as I had cleared it, period, prior to this. And we got both those clears in less time than one of my original clears in its entirety. And it's all about the group you play with. And, shout out to my team, which we actually, I was joking that I think we've earned a name finally, because I just always, it was like, yeah, this is the team we do our Perfector runs with. And the kind of goofy gimmick that we've been doing, and not for anything other than, they love the play style, and it's really funny because our healer is constantly stressed out about it. Both of our DPSs have just been fixed on this trying Thracian Stranglers. It was like, let's do Thracian Stranglers and try to get the Perfecta. And at first it was kind of like a haha joke. And then we got a Perfecta while they were both wearing Thracian Stranglers. And then it was like, and then we did another one. Then we did another one. And then we kept doing them. So at this point, I just gave us the nickname the Thracian Slayers because we do literally everything in Thracian. And that's really funny because you learn which dungeons have a lot of ads in them because everybody's fighting over stacks. and you find out that it's like some dungeons, there's just a lot of ads. You know what has a lot of ads? Black Rose Prison.
Oh, God.
There's so many ads. So they were hitting Thracian 50 stacks fast because it's just like, oh, there's spiders and there's alligators and there's bats and there's hack wings and it's just all those dudes that everybody farms in the first area, and it is chaos. So it has been a lot of fun just to see them doing that, and their burn is off the rails with 50 stacks of it. So it becomes the healer and I desperately trying to make sure they don't get touched because they're made of glass at this point. But their just output of damage is just insane.
And that brings up a really good point. And that's something I like to say is ESO, MMOs, at the end of the day, that's another thing where I kind of get away from meta because people, are doing this as what they have to do, and they're getting all the gear, and then once they have the gear, they don't know what to do because that's all they're focused on.
Yep.
ESO at the end of the day is about moments, the things I remember. Yeah, of course you're going to remember your first, trifecta. Of course. Veteran trial, stuff like that. That's a moment. You're going to remember the people. You're going to remember stacking Thracian, and that's your group name. We did I forgot which dungeon it is now, but me, Soldier on, a couple other members from my community, we got in. We were doing a vet dungeon. It was when I was really into vets. It was one of the non-DLC ones, but the last boss was a little tricky. And the timer kept popping up 30 minutes till server reset. And we literally downed that veteran dungeon with 2 minutes left. And that doesn't have to be the hardest, most intense trifecta thing, because that will always be this moment. That is the moment that we buzzer beat it. Like I don't think there'll be another time that we just all agree that we're going to push it. We're gonna figure it out. We wiped again. We got 5 minutes. We're going to finish it before the server goes down, and we did. So, that's the other thing about going off meta and working with your group and your friends and things in this game is you remember doing weird things like we're going to wear Thracian Stranglers. We're going to buzzer beat this. We're going to Yaz, who's part of the ESO community, did like a 2-person trial earlier today. Izzy Wink's trying to do a 3-person trial. I know people have done an all vampire single bar run at a veteran trial just because. So yeah, those are what you remember as these weird fun moments. And I think people would, and again, people should enjoy what they enjoy. They just push and meta. But I think at the end of the day, it's about moments. And if you work more towards creating moments than worrying about doing everything exactly connect the dots style, you end up having a lot more fun.
I will totally agree with that. And that's just it. Like I said, those our Black Rose runs with my original clear memories was, this place is very unenjoyable. And I actually had fun with it. I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to it. Because it was just this is much more fun. We're more organized, because that is a place that really, I cannot fathom trying to pug that or something like that. That place is a mess. And it's just, there's so much abuse coming from all sorts of angles. And really, most of the time, burn's important and stuff, but, the big thing with Black Rose is the easiest solutions to the mechanics in Black Rose is burning through them, which was actually a big complaint about Black Rose originally. And when I talked to Alcast in Vegas, that was a big thing. Was he was just you just hit it faster and harder, and you don't have to do the mechanics. So it just makes it easier. And a lot of times, yes, that's a way of doing things, but Sometimes there's creative ways that they make it so overburn makes it harder, or this happens and this happens. And it's like Black Rose is just nuke the thing as fast as possible and your life is less shit.
You mentioned Outcast, and that's another thing. And you were mentioning builds and things like that. And I think that's the other thing. I always like to look at builds and stuff like that and meta as I always just look at it as the foundation of the house. Yeah, I put it on because I have a hard time figuring out what my foundation is. But then I change an ability here for my playstyle. I change a gear piece there, and I build my own thing from it.
Yep.
And I think that's really cool. And if you just want to follow a build and it works for you, that's great also. But I always kind of advise people like play with it. Like use a foundation. There's amazing critical thinkers out there and their builds are amazing, but like, hey, if their style doesn't work for you, slot in a new ability, try a new piece.
Just change a little thing here.
So it fits you and how you like to play this game. Yeah.
So here we go on to builds, and I had mentioned a reference to this a little earlier about me playing on an alt recently, which my alt is Guarnir, which Arc perpetually has to deal with Guarnir being a thing that exists in life, and it was my best representation of Arc in game. He's a filthy high elf because he doesn't like the Altmer, and he's part of the traitorous Aldmeri Dominion, which he also says he doesn't like. I don't know, in game says differently according to Guarnir, but and I've had him as a Templar for a while, and I made it as a joke, but then I was just like, oh, I'll just goof around with it because I do like Templars for DPSing. I find them much simpler. It's usually a much easier rotation, which is one of two things. It's great for starters, or it's great if you like to veg out. Whereas some of the other classes are much more complex, which is a huge draw to a lot of people. I am not a DPS main, and generally I don't think I'm very good at DPS. I can get by just fine. But, it's definitely not my strong point, which is fine. That's whatever. But I originally did it kind of casually, and then I was asked to fill in for some different things. And I'm like, I can probably fudge it as long as it's not too difficult. And had success at it, had some fun with it, and I'm like, okay, well, this is all right. So I've done some more complicated stuff with it. But recently I was like goofing around with it a bunch, and I'm like, man, this is just it's fun. It's fun, and I love jabs. It's my favorite move in the game. It's so cool looking because spears aren't a physical thing in the game, but it's such a satisfying attack, and it's crazy powerful. The Dragon Knight Whip's another really great one, but I like the offensive style of Templars as a DPS, and I've had decent results with different things, but I started to just kind of browse around and going to shout out Dooma Gaming, who is a stream team member for Elder Scrolls Online. And I just want to say that, I don't know, for whatever reason, I did not know Dooma outside Twitter, just like in casual posting stuff. But he popped up in my YouTube for whatever reason as a recommended video, and it was it happened to be a build for a like Immortal Templar, and I'm like, those are things I like. I like Templar, and I like being immortal.
I love to not die.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, let me just watch this, and it is so much fun. So I cannot shout out Dooma Gaming enough on this, and these videos I feel like are woefully underlooked at, especially for an easy way to get into DPS before you want to go whole hog, if you ever do. So what this is, I strongly suggest checking it out. He has these builds for all of the classes and all different styles of DPSing. And it is a single bar, so it's not even a bar swap. No trial.
I've heard tales of these single bars.
Yes. Single bar, no trial or mythics required. And the output on some of these things is outrageous. And at the end of these videos, it's a video of him one-manning Vet Asylum Sanctorum in it. which is ridiculous because that is a 12-person trial.
Okay, I haven't watched that video yet, but I know of that video.
You do know of that. Yes.
It was a little bit back, not too long ago. Somebody in chat was like, I'm kind of new to ESO.
Yep.
I'm trying to get more into it, but I'm kind of struggling with this whole 2-bar mechanic thing. Can you just do 1 bar? And I go, I'm pretty sure you can. Depends on what you're doing. And someone's like, no, you can. And you can do it at the top level. Here is a video. And it was that video. I hadn't got around to watching it yet, but the description was there in chat. And now that you said one man did, I'm like, yeah, no, I remember somebody mentioning that video and
yes,
in chat and being like, oh, okay, my bad. Again, I learned something new every day streaming this game. I didn't know how much I didn't know till I streamed it and had a big community talking to me. And apparently, 1 bar viable.
Yes, it is. And so I was watching that and I'm like, whoa. And then like I said, there's different ones. You want a Dragon Knight one? One of my buddies is messing around with the Dragon Knight one. Somebody else is messing around with the Sork one. He has more complicated things too. And like some of them, it's like, but I'm not at the top of it type of thing. Because they are very, very durable, and there's some ultimate versions where it's like, okay, you're a little less durable, but your damage numbers, it's like you're looking at like 80, 90, 100k on a single bar, and I'm like, what is going on with this build? Like, it's, oh crap. Sorry, you totally got nuked.
Sorry, I was trying to link the.
Yeah, well, to be fair,
I always forget people have chats have different settings.
Yeah, so that's because Wisebot is out of control. I have everything allowed, and it just straight up doesn't allow them. So that's for anybody on the live thing. So don't mind that. How the hell long are you timed out for? Okay, look. But yeah, 30 seconds. Yeah. So what do you call it? They're very impressive. So I was like, well, I want to see what I can do with this as not somebody who practices this type of thing. So I was very curious on like how good would this be? How complicated is this to set up? So I was like, okay, well, I want to do the Magicka Templar one. I want to screw with this. So I did. I jump into it, and the build is pretty easy to get and set up. Didn't take me that long, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours of farming some random crap, and then I got it. And it was a base level dungeon, a base level monster set, and the Hexos set from Deadlands. So I suggest, they're different, obviously, based on your class types. But I jump into it and I'm like, okay, how does this feel? And I'm bumbling around with the rotation a little bit, and I was starting to get the hang of it. And then I was like, okay, I'm starting to like this. And the amount of shield you get is a lot. And I was like, okay, well, I've soloed plenty of crap on my tank because that's how I play, and I've got different builds for it or whatever. I was like, I'm just going to start running around and seeing what I can do on Guarnir. So I was running around just tagging, bosses and stuff like that, world bosses. And I'm just mowing through deleting them off the planet, and there's just zero chance. I'm like barely even, they're not even cracking my shield most of the time. And I'm like, wow, okay. I was like, well, this is a selling point to the build, not to me, because I was like, well, okay, this is pretty cool. So I was like, well, we'll go whole hog. Let's do some DLC world bosses.
Yeah,
deleting them off the planet, like just shitting on these things. And I'm like, wow, this is way more effective than I was expecting. So then I jumped into, I was like, okay, there's a Harrow Storm up. I'm gonna just fight the Harrow Storm. And me and one other person deleted the Harrow Storm just off the face of the planet. And when I showed up, there were 4 bosses up at the same time from being summoned. Overwhelmed the bosses, took down the pillars, and then fought the main thing and killed it. And I was like, dude, I am not good enough that this should be this effective. So I'm like, this feels very, very strong. Like, okay. So now I jumped in and I was like, well, let me just see real quick, because I've got my Flawless Conqueror, but I haven't done the Spirit Slayer, I think it's called, or Of the Undying Song, the one for doing sorry, I'm just putting it in chat. I'll have to like Doom Gaming for anybody, and it definitely it'll pop up super easy. I'll actually put an actual link in a minute. But yeah, so I was like, wow, this is feeling real good. So I want something, and I was gonna start. I had just started, I should say, working on my Vatashram trifecta, which was giving me problems in the speed department because ... I'm not very good at DPS. So I was like, okay, well, I got Flawless Conqueror, but I could do it as slow as I wanted. That was kind of the benefit. I'm good at staying alive, not good at killing quickly. So I was just like, well, VMA, I'm more experienced with VMA. I'll just jump in here real quick with this and see how this build is. And just obliterated VMA in this setup. And I'm like, dude, this is what I'm doing Vatashram in now. Like, I need to just practice Vatashram. This is going to be my trifecta build. Like, this is what I'm using for this. So, as somebody who DPS is not my main, Immortal's a pretty funny way of putting it. I mean, you can literally be killed. I started testing just how stupid I could be. And I mean, you can definitely die. Like, you can stand in stupid for only so long, and you do have to actively be playing to re-up your shields. They're all based on you doing stuff. But
you gotta do your rotation.
Exactly, yeah. You do. You need, and to maximize what your output is, you need to have your rotation down. But it's more of you're getting a lot out of it, and you just get better at it, even at base level. So I definitely have been saying it's worth checking out, especially if you have something, you're new to the game, you're new to DPSing, and you just want to try something that gives you, the best way I can put it gives you a lot of leeway to make mistakes and not get your teeth kicked in. I've had a lot of fun with it, and it's allowed me to farm through stuff really quick. So yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely a fan of what he's managed to pull off, and I know there's some other people doing the 1-bar things and stuff like that.
I feel like I've noticed a couple different people putting out 1-bar stuff recently. Right,
and yeah, he's the one that I happen to find based on just YouTube algorithms, I guess. But yeah, I really personally can't say enough good things about Duma Gaming's 1-bar builds. And
I know of a.
Yeah, I was starting to mess around. I didn't have enough pieces to do both because it's a different set for the other set. But I was starting to mess around with doing a Maj DK, and one of my buddies was as well. And he was like, oh, this feels pretty good. And I just was trying to collect the gear for it. But I started trying it on my tank. I just used the armory and started building one just to goof around with it. And yeah, it's just, I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm not somebody who plays alts. So this is kind of like a weird, refreshing change for me personally. It's been pretty good. So yeah, shout out to them because, like I said, I very much have had a lot of fun with it. And it's a fun alternative, even if it's just something you want to do by yourself or goofing around or whatever, or, you're getting into this type of thing. I like it. I think it's good, and it seems like you can take it pretty far if you get good with it, I would imagine.
You just created the heart of a future stream this month. I'm going to grab 1-bar builds from Duma and Deltia and Dots and Alcast, because now I'm curious, as I said at the start, an aggressively casual player who's okay at I mean, I know how to weave, so I'll have to preface it. Like,
and that stuff definitely matters. Like, it helps. Like,
and I'll have to preface it with that, but I'm going to say, because usually I just tweak them, but now I'm curious, like, for a complete dunce who is just putting this into my bars and following rotation, how user friendly are they? Not to make a video or anything. I don't want to I'm not trying to throw numbers, but I'm actually curious just to dink around on stream and go, all right,
can I make this work? Yeah.
Yeah, this is build. Let's go play around it. Let's go to these areas and see, can I make this work? Oh, wow, this one's actually pretty easy to make work. Or, this one's good, but you definitely need to, there's a lot more, fine tuning you got to do to learn how it works and stuff, because I've always just tweaked them to my playstyle. I've never actually just kind of gone and been like, I'm just going to do this build and follow their playstyle and see how it goes for me.
Right.
And now that you mentioned doing that on one of your ults, I'm like, I want to try that. That sounds fun.
Yes, and it ended up being super, super fun. And actually, for anybody in the live show specifically right now, because a lot of people are asking about it, so, I want to properly credit. Here's the exact link that you tried to post, and my Wisebot said no for whatever fucking reason. But yeah, so that's his actual website. It's just doomagaming.com, but he's got YouTube videos and everything like that. But I've just had so much fun with the builds recently. I really kind of wanted to shout that out just from a personal standpoint of like, I've been really enjoying the hell out of them. And I think if you're better than me at DPS, which won't probably be too hard for anybody to do, you can probably make them work even better. And I've had a lot of success with it, which I was shocked at how efficient I found it to be. And I'm actually looking forward to trying to get better at Vadashram with this, because now I want to do Vadashram's trifecta on that, because again, shared achievements, yay! So that's been like actually a lot of my time was testing that stuff out. I'd mentioned the Daedric motif being terrible. I've only got one page left. That was a big thing that I was doing throughout the week as well. It's just terrible. Just terrible. And then we actually, the achievement group I had mentioned that we had set up on Monday, we went through, these ones weren't for me, but we went into the cauldron to knock out everybody's cauldron things that they would need. And because it happened to be dropping the Baron, not motif page, style page, the Baron helmet gold page thing.
I want that page.
Yeah, we struck out a lot in that. Struck out a real lot in that. Did not pass go, did not collect style page. So unfortunately, that did not net me a lot of money. But best luck to those of you who are farming it, and hopefully have had better luck.
I thought I was like, one day on Twitter, it must have just been dropping nice that day. I swear I saw 4 different people I follow post pictures with it on the same day, and I'm like, damn.
Rip they,
because everybody else is like, this thing doesn't drop.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we've been doing that, had 0 success with that. And then the only other thing that I've had in and amongst all the real life chaos that was happening for me this week was I got some time to I've got more stuff to upload to YouTube, because I've just been having fun goofing around with YouTube a bunch, as that's relatively new to me. But I got things organized for people to a degree. I'm working on some other stuff to upload. There's some lore stuff that should be coming for everybody who is asking, which hopefully will be more useful than anything else, just because I haven't found it anywhere, and it's just been something that's been asked for in the community, so I'm trying to fill a role. So hopefully I can have more information on that next week, if I can make it work, is the only thing. I just don't want to get anybody's hopes up and then have it totally suck, because I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm pretty new to this whole YouTube thing. But I got the entire Battlespire live play that I had done organized and uploaded it in a playlist from Twitch. So I know some people have messaged me saying, holy shit, I can actually watch this now because you don't use Twitch or whatever. Totally fine. But yeah, that is up there. Sans the one episode, which I do not have an explanation as to why it was, well, I know why it was removed, but I don't know how it got caught by Twitch to be removed. The rather sketchy right before the end episode where it turned out you can have sex with a Daedra in that game was removed from my log. So that one thing is missing, which I guess is totally fine because it was screwed up as hell. But the rest of that playthrough is now available. Just FYI, it is definitely not safe for work, depending upon where you're watching it, because I get very, very frustrated playing that game, to the point of it, a couple points being like, people are like, he's going to have a breakdown, because I will stop playing if something actually pisses me off. That game had so many bugs at a couple points. I really was like, I'm not sure I can take this anymore. This game's so broken. But I wanted to keep going because it's also like sadistically kind of amusing me at the same time. And I was going to say to all of you who watch these live streams, I'm glad you enjoyed. It's a weird some for you, some for me, because even though a lot of these old games are brutal, they're not without merit. So yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag.
So when can I get the Battlespire Halloween edit, which is just really John Carpenter 80s horror music as you go across the field while that goblin gremlin thing chases
Oh my
you.
God. Yes, Everscamp McLustthirst, which he was named on stream.
And he just kept coming.
He just kept coming no matter how many.
I always try to lurk your streams and sometimes chat when I can. But that one, like I was like, okay, I got about 20 minutes, and I just kept watching because I'm just like, it just keeps coming.
Yeah, it
just keeps coming.
And then there was that one level where I actually thought I killed it because it died. And I was like, oh my God, I can loot it. I don't even know what to do. It's finally dead. I've been punching it for 20 minutes while literally walking around the level. I just kept smacking it. And then I got to the next level and it came out of a door. And I was like, oh my God, it's fucking back. Like, it really is unkillable.
Some 80s John Carpenter horror music. And just that.
Yep. Making
the sheer growing frustration and disbelief that it would not die.
It wouldn't die. And then when you would try to interact with it, it would make really uncomfortable, like, quotes. Like, oh, it leered. It leered at my thighs. And I'm like, dude, what kind of dialogue is this? Yeah, it's... So that is... that is all there for everybody. And it actually was mentioned in chat as well. So... I currently have a poll up on Twitter with, I think, maybe 2 days left. There's a decent amount of votes already on it. But I put up for what the general group of all of you that support this stuff and get a kick out of it or whatever, or just like watching me suffer through these games and get us little snippets of useful information. Out of the games I have not completed yet, I am leaving it up to everybody else which one you would like me to play next. And currently, Daggerfall is winning by a pretty substantial margin.
There's a poll I missed.
Yeah, so
50.9% my vote is registered for Daggerfall.
Yes, so Daggerfall is currently in the lead. Redguard and Shadowkey are next. I actually got kind of amusement out of the fact of how few people even know what Stormhold or Dawnstar are.
I actually don't know what that is.
They are Java phone games.
Oh, okay, yeah, I never have dug into a phone game.
So I think the clip might still be on my Twitch or whatever, but during Extra Life, I played Dawnstar for about 20 minutes and beat the game. Because it's a whodunit mystery quiz.
Oh.
Okay. And it crashed a lot. And then I picked correctly and the floor disappeared during one of the... It was riddled with bugs to the point that I had no idea, but I did get end credits at one point. So technically, I guess I beat the game. Somebody told me they looked up the different endings and they were like, oh, cool, you got the bad ending. And I was like...
Oh, cool, you got the bad ending.
I was like, whatever, I got an ending, man.
The ending.
So I will go through that just for documentation purposes for everybody. I'll go through and play it. And again, I don't look up how to play these games in advance, which I try to.
They came with cryptic instruction manuals. So if you look up how to play them, you are not embracing the true way that we had to play them originally. And
that's for anybody who might be new to what I'm talking about. That I've been playing through all of the old games. I want to complete every Elder Scrolls game, and so the thing with them is, to your point, I'm trying to play them as if I just bought them back in the 90s, which is rough because they're very dated, but they're not without cool things that you can glean from them.
Oh, they're still cool.
They really are. And as frustrating as they are to play,
very.
They're also still kind of goofy fun, and they're more goofy fun when I can show them to other people, because I'm not going to lie, watching somebody else suffer through these, as several people have taken up these things of arena and stuff like that as torture challenges after talking to me about them for like extra life incentives and stuff like that. And everybody has been like, oh my God, these games. I was like, the series has come a long way, but it's interesting to see how it all started. But yeah, so, poll looks like Daggerfall will be starting, and it will be starting. Ideally, I'm not good with stream schedules or having a schedule because this is not really a job that I have. I don't really, this is just a super fun hobby for me. So I do it whenever I'm able to. Once the Super Bowl is over, my Sundays should be a little more freed up because I'm a huge football fanatic. So once my Sundays are free, I'm probably going to attempt to go back as frequently as I can to start doing my classic Elder Scrolls Sundays. So hopefully I can kick that off. If you have an opinion on what I should play, just I'm LotusOfDoom on Twitter. Feel free to vote. You don't need to. I don't give a. You can follow me or not. That none of that garbage matters. But yeah, you can vote on it. Yeah, smash that subscribe like button or whatever. And it's like, but yeah. So currently, it looks like Daggerfall might be next without a huge swing.
I still remember Daggerfall because it was the first Elder Scrolls game I ever played. I have 2 pieces of advice for your stream.
All right,
save often because it was a very early procedurally generated game, which means there is actually a chance you will fall into a hole and you will never come out.
I've heard
you probably
of this.
already knew that. I know you're going in as blind as possible.
It's very Battlespire in that way.
Literally in a PC Gamer magazine that came out the month before I got the game, so that's still the same as playing it in the 90s. Because PC Gamer's like, so the other thing is maybe you could do a times that the game has procedurally trapped you counter. Because I bet if you do that over the entire series, I'd be interested to see, because some people have gone through it with never getting trapped, and some people, me, damn near 50 sometimes.
Oh God. And that was, that's
because it was state of the art for the time, but it's very early procedural generation, so it doesn't have all the catches and stuff like modern procedural generation was that would assure that things were actually completable.
Right. And for anybody who hasn't seen my playthrough of Daggerfall, I did some weird things when playing it because I didn't know what to do. And
it doesn't tell you what to do ever, really.
It does not. And you ran into some weird things where sometimes I was amazed that the game did account for things, and other times I'm like, oh God, I don't know how to do this, and I'm looking it up, and like there is no explanation to anybody who's played it, because unfortunately the communities to those games is much, much smaller. Daggerfall is still beloved. Arena has its fan base to a degree.
Morrowind is the game that most people, because it was also on console, and it was on Xbox, and that. So Morrowind's usually, some people got into it like myself earlier, but I feel like Morrowind's like got me hooked on the lore. I think
same.
Oftentimes,
that was my first,
or any game after Morrowind. So like Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim are usually more people's jumping off points.
Absolutely. But yeah, so those have been my things. I stream where we're currently recording, just on Lotus of Doom, and then thanks to all of you being so helpful, I already got my custom URL, so like it's just Lotus of Doom on YouTube, where I'm just going to upload the ones when I complete them. So yeah, it's just kind of there, and I've been having fun with just doing a different style of doing any of this video creation stuff. It's been a lot of fun just to kind of mess with, because I'd never really done too much with YouTube since long back. Yeah, it is. It's different, and it's kind of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it from my week of everything. Got any other final thoughts or anything you felt like shouting out? You actually, just because it's something that I tried to help spread the word of, you've got a little project you're working on. You were kind of looking for input if you wanted to maybe shout out anything that you could use for that.
So I just kind of recently put out a Twitter. I've got a lot of information. I got most of the information I wanted, which is
awesome.
Yes, if you get harassed as a queer person, as a person of color, whatever marginalized group you might be in ESO, screenshot it, you mute the person, block the person, you report it. But my thing is, I hear a lot of reports, not in abundance, but there's enough reports of people falling into Facebook groups, Discord groups, or guilds where some of these toxic players who are bigoted or hated towards marginalized groups create negative experiences. So my main project of hearing people's stories and finding the areas where ZeniMax can't step in, because ZeniMax can't step into a private Discord server and punish somebody in game for it.
Correct.
So my concept of solution is, all right, what are the most common experiences? And then from there, can I create a resource, maybe team up with an existing ESO site or something that is curated and vetted? Like, here are Discord servers you can join that are inclusive, that, have this community, Facebook groups that don't tolerate this sort of behavior.
Sure.
Here's a list of existing guilds for these different marginalized communities that have been, again, vetted and vouched for and curated. So my main goal with it is, like, there's nothing that really can be done to toxic players for the most part beyond reporting and blocking and banning, but sometimes this harassment in the internet age goes beyond that. So my main goal with getting stories was to use that, drive that to figure out where to focus, and then try to work with other people in the community to not just create a curated list, but maintain a curated list. So if you are a newer player or even experienced player and you're like, I want to join a Discord, but I don't want to risk this horror story I heard, or the last time I joined a Facebook group, it was really like transphobic or something.
It's a super shit show or
here
something.
Here is people that, have that similarity. And even if it's not because of toxicity, share things with, like, if you are an Asian player, if you are a queer player, if you are a veteran, all these things that I've heard about people getting harassed for, it's also nice to be able to more easily, maybe, because there's not a lot of search functionality, find groups where you can find like-minded people that are also, like, vetted a bit, so that you can say, hey, yeah, this is kind of a fine place to go. So that's kind of been my personal non-content creator but community pet project that I've been trying to use my platform for a bit to get off the ground.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Anything, but where can people find you when they want to get in touch with you?
I am Loctavian, twitch.tv/Loctavian, LOCTAVIAN, Loctavian on YouTube, and then Loctavian with 2 zeros after it on Instagram and Twitter, because those names were unfortunately taken there. And then the last big project I'm working on is for March. It started with Lore Sports last year with you and Avron, and I'll talk to you more about it as we get closer. I want to go full March Madness with various topics this March.
Hell yeah.
So similar to Lore Sports, but yeah, for people who don't know, Lore Sports was something that I did early on in my channel with Avron Doodles and with Lotus here. And basically we took the 16 Daedric princes and we put them in a seeded bracket, and we debated which one would move on to the next rounds. But it was done in a March Madness tournament style, where we were just debating the lore. We were debating how cool their artifacts were. We were just making our cases and then voting and moving them on and doing it in a sports style, calling it Lore Sports.
It was super fun.
That's a month away, but I want to do something like that again, because it was kind of out of the box and fun.
Yeah, and call it personal bias, since I specifically have been doing all the planning for the show and inviting you back. But I strongly suggest you check out Loctavian stuff. They do a great job of kind of, I don't know. I'm very amused by a lot of the things that you do. I feel like you have a good presence with the way you craft some of the video stuff that you do. So, from my personal side of things, very, very enjoyable. Definitely give them a peek. I guess that's pretty much it for us this week. Thank you, Loctavian, for joining me. It was a pleasure as always, and I'm glad to have you come back for this. This was perfect. And of course, you'll be welcome back in the future as we kind of organize stuff down the line. So, yeah.
Anytime you need a co-host or somebody to discuss or debate anything, I'm available.
Absolutely. As for the show itself, you can follow everything we do over at dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. There you can find links to all of our social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Discord. Be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/dungeoncrawlernetwork if you want to help support the show, and consider leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify so people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words, and sometimes they matter. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this live version of Tales, or if this is your recorded version, hope you enjoy, and we will talk to you all next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, we can stop our recording, and we can find somebody to raid for the rest of the evening. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate all of you. It's super late and everything like that. So, so many of you showed up. As always, I always just appreciate you hanging out with us. It always just makes it more entertaining from this side of the microphones. So, thank you for all of that. And actually, speaking of the man Nephis, since we had mentioned him, why don't we raid over to Nephis right now?
Beautiful bald fist.
Oh my god, yeah, the bald thing.
For anybody who doesn't know, Nephis was so secure that the next chapter was Redguard that he told his chat, he said, if it is not Redguard, I will shave my head bald. And sure enough, after the same day as the reveal, he was shaved bald. Luckily, he has a nicely shaped head. He has a good head for being
totally
bald,
fine.
But it was still hilarious.
It was absolutely hilarious, yes. So, yeah, for anybody, we're just going to raid over to Nephis, give him a hello, and thank you all so much. SD, thank you so much for the sub. Oh, that's right, SD, of course. This is your morning entertainment over there. But, thank you, everybody, for hanging out, for the follows, for the subs, for everything. It's greatly appreciated, and all of you have a great rest of your evening or day or weekend, and I will talk to you all again next time. Bye, everybody.
When Akatosh slew Lorcan, he ripped his heart right out. He hurled it across Tamriel, and the heart was heard to shout, red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. The laughing heart sprayed blood afar, a gout on Seer it fell, and like a dart shot to its mark down in an alien well. Magicka fused the Lorcan blood to crystal red and strong. Then wild elves cut and polished it down to Chimel at a ball. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. When elves lost Nirn to men, Akatosh gave the stone to Saint Alesh in token of her right to sit the throne. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. Red diamond, protect us till the end.